So, one of the reasons I started a YouTube channel was because I had zero resources to help me understand the narcissistic abuse and bullying that I was experiencing. And it seemed like whenever I tried to discuss it with people, they didn't want to really get involved in it. And I don't really blame them because when you're going through narcissistic abuse, in my opinion, it's one of the hardest things that you can actually go through. You're experiencing so much negative emotions. You're in such a depressed state. You need a lot of help. Normally, you need financial help, you need mental help, you need emotional support. And the average person just isn't going to be able to give that to you. And narcissistic abuse can be extreme abuse, which makes it sound unbelievable to the average person. So, from my experience, people will either dismiss what you're saying is not being true, they won't believe that it's true, and people will often imply that you are exaggerating and that your situation is not that bad. But you have to realize that when people give you advice, they are drawing from their own personal life experiences. Narcissistic abuse tends to be cumulative, so it's very difficult to make someone understand exactly what you're going through, and it's not likely they'll understand unless they've actually gone through it themselves. So many times I've had people tell me that my narcissistic abuser actually does love me and that I should treat my narcissistic abuser better and that surely I must be mistaken, and sort of laugh off what I was telling them was happening to me. Also with toxic friends, I've had people tell me, well, those are your friends, and to excuse the abuse that they were putting me through and the gaslighting that I was going through. I was just supposed to blow it off just because we were friends. Any advice that assumes people are good at heart and that people are, everything that they do is excusable is extremely bad advice, because some people are just flat out toxic to you. So what eventually ended up really changing my life was actually putting myself first. As basic as that sounds, that is something that doesn't come natural to victims of narcissistic abuse. I was at a point, honestly, where nearly everyone around me was toxic. My friends were toxic. My boyfriends were toxic. My family was toxic. My coworkers were toxic. And it really came down to survival for me, having a roof over my head, having something to eat, having enough money, because I didn't have the resources that I needed. I didn't have the things that I needed, and it just got to the point where I couldn't take it anymore. I couldn't live the way I was living anymore. And what's funny is that I actually had so many people around me at that point, and I was doing so poorly. Even though I had so many friends and such a big family, I didn't have anyone to help me. I still was unable to pay my bills. I couldn't afford clothes. I couldn't really afford groceries. And really, what good is your toxic friends and family if you can't depend on them when you actually need help? So I started to focus on myself. I started to make a plan for my life, to make my life better, to get myself what I needed: adequate food, adequate shelter, financial stability, because the only person that is going to take care of you is you. And it's funny because once I got myself into a better situation, I got a better job after I finished school, and I'm in a much better off situation now. The toxic family's attitude towards me has really changed. I mean, it's sort of amusing because now all of a sudden they want to have a relationship with me that wasn't there before, and there's a fake respect that is there now. And if I could get out of the situation that I was in with everything against me, I think that anyone can. It does require sacrifice, but if you have your eyes on a goal and you work towards your goal every single day, you can overcome what you're going through. And it really sucks that this is some people's lives, that they have to suffer this much just to live. But I just really feel like you have to focus on the positive. Even when I was in a bad living situation, with no resources, basically, I would focus on small things and to get me through the day to day, and I would focus on the big picture that my life was going to look like when I eventually reached my goal. And honestly, having a vision board was a big part of that. That is literally what got me through the worst times. You just have to figure out what motivates you and what makes you happy and what you want. And every single day you have to do something to get you a little bit closer to your goal. And I know that's really hard, but I recommend inspirational books. I recommend anything inspirational movies, inspirational music. I recommend doing something every day that makes you happy, whether it's painting or eating a cupcake or something. You have to have a spark in yourself to get yourself motivated. And toxic people, what they do is they just extinguish any life or hope that you have within yourself. That's why it's absolutely necessary to avoid toxic people as much as you can. So I'll end the video here, and I will see you in the next one. If you have any suggestions, leave them down below. Thanks.